Hello and welcome back to Pactolas. My name is Shibu and this is the 12th and final review of Shaka Ilembe season 2. It's going to be a bit of a long one, so grab a drink, settle in, and let's do this. So we finally made it to the most anticipated war of the season, of the entire 2 seasons combined actually. This war between the Zulu and the Ndwandwe has been brewing since the very first episode of season 1. I mean, the build-up has been crazy. But we made it, ready to see Shaka take on Zwide as they both would fight for revenge and to see who comes out on top. I was ready to see the fight of the century. But what I got was so underwhelming. Let's put aside the fact that we all knew that Shaka was going to win this war and destroy the Ndwandwe. That's not why this war was underwhelming. Would you believe me if I told you that the entire war, from when the Ndwandwe raid started to when the Zulus conquered the Ndwandwes at the Mhlatuza River, it lasted 15 minutes and 35 seconds. Yes, I went and counted. I am that obsessive and particular. This entire war, the war to end all wars, lasted 15 minutes and 35 seconds out of a 52-minute episode in a 12-episode season of a 2-season show. Do you want to guess how long the actual fight between Shaka and Zwide was? This highly anticipated face-off lasted a whopping 60 seconds. 1 whole minute. This was a major war between the two most powerful kingdoms of the Nguni nation. The winner of this war would essentially become the king of all kings. We deserved way more than 15 minutes and 35 seconds. This war needed way more screen time. If you're like me and you're a fan of Vikings, then you'll know about the siege of Paris where the GOAT, Ragnar Lothbrok, attacks Paris. The battle showed the different phases of the conflict, tactics, and the shifting fortunes between both sides. The Siege of Paris extended over 3 episodes. And that series had an average of about 45 minutes per episode. That's 2 hours and 15 minutes for one battle. Another example, the Battle of Winterfell, also called the Long Night in Game of Thrones. Another one of my all-time favorite series. The Battle of Winterfell was the climatic fight between the living and the White Walkers. The Long Night was only 1 episode, but it was an 82-minute episode. That's longer than some movies. I couldn't think of any examples from South African series, but I think you can see what I'm getting at. This fight between the Ndwandwe and the Zulu is supposed to be an epic battle. What it needed was more time to communicate the tension, the gravity, and the stakes of the fight. At some point, Mkabayi said that the battle raged on throughout the night. Saying this and then only showing us 2 minutes and 39 seconds of the battle, I told you I've been counting, it doesn't really convey how long the battle actually took. I mean, can you imagine fighting throughout the night? You must be exhausted and probably running out of morale. There's times in the fight where you think you're losing and times when you gain an edge and get renewed strength to keep fighting. A battle naturally shifts and develops as both sides employ different strategies at different times. I wish the writers and producers would have added these elements and developed the battle a lot more because it would have made the victory that Shaka earned even more glorious. I touched on this as well in the review of episode 9, so if you want a little bit more context, go and check out that review. Okay, I'm done ranting. Let's talk about the rest of the episode. It was very interesting and almost poetic that this war ended at the Mhlatuza River, exactly the same place where the Zulu Ndwandwe feud started in season 1, episode 1, when Senzanga Kona killed one of Zwide's men while trying to protect Nandi from being harassed. It felt like a full circle moment. With regards to the war itself, we already know that Shaka is a strategic genius, but I really enjoy seeing all of the different strategies that can be implemented at war, like starving out your enemy. That was brilliant. Zwide, of course, entered this war still very arrogant and confident that he'll win. It's like he's learned nothing from his previous battle against Shaka. This very arrogance and confidence is what blinded him to Noluju's deception. Even with Noluju deceiving the Ndwandwe army, Zwide could have still stood a chance if only he listened to Sikunyane and Soshangane, who were slowly figuring out that Noluju is lying. But instead of listening, Zwide ridiculed and humiliated Soshangane and Sikunyane, and in the end, he lost this war, and the Ndwandwe kingdom was utterly destroyed along with Ekutunkomo. No surprises there. What was left was a once all-powerful man who now has nothing. No army, no people to rule, no family, no kingdom, nothing. Not even a dog. I mean, can we even still call Zwide a king? I think he would have been better off dying in battle. If Ekutunkomo wasn't completely destroyed, I think Sikunyana would have made a decent king. He was very perceptive and quick to pick up on Noluju's deception. Sikunyana has shown great intuition, rationale, and great conflict management. He's also very diplomatic and war-averse. All great traits that make a good, fair, and wise king. Anyway, after defeating the Ndwandwe, Shaka returns home as the King of Kings, and the episode closes off with a breathtaking aerial shot of KwaBulawayo, the Zulu royal palace. What struck me is how much the image resembles the schematic of a living cell, with the gathered crowd forming the nucleus. I know I'm sounding like I'm taking an off-ramp into the Sahara Desert, but trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. A living cell is the fundamental unit of life that exists in every living organism, like you and me, like animals, like plants. Every cell is enclosed by a cell membrane, and inside the cell are specialized structures called organelles, which carry out specific functions, similar to how there are different organs in a body that perform specific jobs. Stay with me. I promise you, this is not just a biology lesson. One of the key organelles in a cell is called a nucleus. The nucleus is pretty much the brain of the cell. It contains the cell's genetic information, or DNA, and it controls the cell's activities. Okay, biology lesson done. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, I think that the resemblance of the Zulu royal palace to the schematic of a living cell is a symbolic or metaphorical representation of the now united Zulu nation and its legacy. Let's break it down. If we look at KwaBulawayo in this shot, the palace itself becomes the cell membrane, enclosing and protecting what's inside, in this case, the Zulu nation. The different structures within the palace can be seen as organelles, each with its role in sustaining the life of the kingdom. The most striking resemblance is the crowd gathered at the center, which forms the nucleus. Just as the nucleus holds the DNA of a cell, that crowd embodies the DNA of the Zulu nation. They are the living code, the genetic material of the kingdom. Now here's where the metaphor deepens. A cell exists in every living organism, much like how the Zulu nation now exists across all the other Nguni nations that it has united. In the same way that DNA determines the identity and functions of a cell, the Zulu people, through their presence, their customs and traditions, will shape and influence the cultural genetic code of the wider Nguni world. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? There's just one problem though. There's a visible split running through the crowd right through the nucleus. I think that this split or crack is hinting at a fracture within the unity of the Zulu nation, and the fact that we can see people moving along the split could suggest the possibility of an infiltration where the crack in the kingdom might allow internal or external threats to seep in. I'm pretty sure Mbopa will have something to do with this possible infiltration because that guy has been beady-eyed and dodgy the entire season. This is all just a theory at the end of the day. We'll just have to wait for season 3 to see how everything plays out. MultiChoice has confirmed that the production for season 3 is currently underway and that it will be the final season of Shaka Ilembe. It will premiere next year, 2026, which I'm so happy about because at least we don't have to wait 2 years like we did for season 2. The last thing that I'm going to discuss is that final post-credits scene where Ngomane and Gobozi confront the British travelers on the beach. You know, that scene where the British man named Henry tells the Zulu warriors that he wants land. This was such a tongue-in-cheek way to end the season considering the climate around land expropriation talks in South Africa. It definitely made the show more relevant to the present political landscape. But that's where I think the producers need to tread lightly. They need to be careful not to politicize the show and have it push agendas instead of it being an educational historical piece that just happens to be entertaining. All right. I am sad to say that is it for the review of the final episode of Shaka Ilembe season 2. Let me know what you thought about the episode and what you thought about this review. I would love to hear from you. This is definitely not goodbye. This is till next time because I will be seeing you soon. Until then, bye. Okay. I know you're used to watching me fumbling and mumbling over my words in this part of the video. And that's what this segment is reserved for. Bloopers. But not just that, it's also for me to get candid and have a one-on-one chat with you. And this week, I would like to find out something from you. What is it that you would like to see from the channel? What else would you like to see from the channel? Let me know in the comments and maybe we can make that happen. But that's it from me. I will chat to you again next time. Until then, bye. For real this time.